Imagine United fell into the Europa League and got knocked out by West Ham. I'd love it. Hello everybody and welcome back to Sweet and Sour Soccer. And there is only one thing that we want to talk about today, and that is the man, the myth, the legend, Lord Moysey.
Lord Moysey.
I love this guy. He's never been down the Molineux. We are Wolves fans if you don't know. But I just love David Moyes. There's something about him, isn't there? How can you not like David Moyes? How?
It's exactly that, isn't it? It's just a joy to see as well. I mean, you look at what's happened with David Moyes. Obviously, he come into West Ham. I think he actually said at the time it was basically to resurrect his career after Man United. They kicked him out for Pellegrini, and then he's come back and he's just proven why it was the biggest mistake the owners made. Well, they've made a few mistakes, but we won't go into that. It's just delightful to see, isn't it? It really is. And it's great to see West Ham potentially challenging those top four positions, especially when you have someone like Ollie in charge of Man United at the moment. That fourth place is really open. Of course, we'll talk about that a bit later. But yeah, it's just absolutely great to see, isn't it, actually? Just one of those obviously West Ham, they're a massive club, but you'd call them at the moment one of those mid-Premier League teams, wouldn't you, historically, and where they've kind of been placed in the league.
Historically, yeah. I mean, is it 2 or 3 relegations under Golden Sullivan? So I think if you said to a West Ham fan, you're a mid-table team, I think some of them will go, oh, that's a bit generous. But listen, over the last 18 months, of course, that isn't the case. Even the thing with Moyes as well is what I wanted to say. The amount of people outside of football or even inside of football that may be retired, I've seen podcasts where they say, he's the nicest manager that you could come across. And you don't think of that, do you, with Moyes, if you didn't know, he's Scottish and he on the touchline, he can really get in on the players. But it's not the case. Like people say, he's more laid back than the players. Like he'll just take them out go-karting or say, yeah, no training today. We won at the weekend. Apparently, he's one of the most laid back guys in the club.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that's kind of transpiring into how you see the team uniting with him. It probably feeds into the results as well. That why West Ham are continuously getting better. Obviously, you do wonder, don't you, when at the end of the year, obviously, I remember at the end of last season, it was really close and we're talking about who was going to make those European places. Of course, West Ham, they not only got into that, they didn't just get into the Conference League. They went one better and they actually got the top 6. You wonder if those little rests, that kind of stuff, you're never going to get someone say that was a tactical masterclass, but it was. It was.
I completely agree. Let's talk about the top 4 ambitions for West Ham. And after the season last season, if you'd have said to a West Ham fan, you'll be fighting for 4th after 9 or 10 games, along with they've done well in the Europa League group stage so far. Let's not get it twisted. They're a bit in your hand off. Let's talk about the impact that the campaign in the Europa League could have, because you've got Brighton up there who I think will tail off. They've had a very good start. I don't expect Brighton to be fighting for top 4, even maybe top 7 if I'm being realistic. You've got Everton, no European football. You've got Arsenal, no European football. Is it sustainable?
You've also got United, but I suppose we shouldn't consider them at the moment with Ollie in charge.
Well, they've got the Champions League as well, which to be honest, they'll probably fall into the Europa League and get knocked out by David Moyes. That would be the dream. Imagine United fell into the Europa League and got knocked out by West Ham. I'd love it.
Oh, it'd be absolutely brilliant, wouldn't it? And as you say, I think it's going to be an interesting one because everyone's going to point out the fact of squad size. Everyone's going to point out that. But one thing you do have to consider is they went and played in the Europa League at the weekend and they still managed to get the result. And yes, okay, Spurs had the same situation. But when you look at the depth of squad, you'd probably argue that Spurs were able to fully rotate their squad. In fact, they did rotate the majority, and maybe that's why they ended up losing. West Ham weren't able to do that, yet they still managed to come back at the weekend, pick up a win. They're still in the cup contention, albeit against Man City, who we know take the cup very seriously. It is one of them, though, isn't it, where I feel if they can get through the Christmas period, the games of the Europa League, then you're into the knockout stages, and those games are going to get a bit more less frequent, aren't they? And I think the important thing though is, just keeping those players energized, making sure that they're going to have enough in the tank for the majority of the season. And then on top of that, injuries are going to be key as well, because obviously we've seen what's happened when Antonio picked up an injury. Of course, then they've not really got a striker. I don't think they actually have. West Ham, I'm not making this up. They don't have another striker, do they, really, to call on in that situation?
Maybe Jared Bowen, who used to be more of a number 9 and has now found his place on the wing. But again, to replace Mikel Antonio, it's not easy. For West Ham fans that are watching this, that have maybe come across the channel for the first time, we're both Wolves fans, so I guess we are in a pretty good position to be able to say, what you could expect. The similarities between West Ham and Wolves, let's not forget, when we got promoted to the Premier League 4 years ago, we finished 7th in our first season.
Yeah.
Everyone was saying, listen, they're in the Europa League next season, so they're going to probably be fighting relegation. We didn't. We finished 7th again. What the similarities that I see is that West Ham do not change their starting 11 unless it's absolutely necessary. Maybe a slight tweak here and there. But other than, Antonio's red card, maybe a knock of Soufal, who's had a couple of knocks this season, they keep their 11. And that's what Wolves did. We had João Moutinho, who was 32, 33, playing 60 games a season.
Yeah.
Neves, I think, played 63 games that second season. Cody played every game that season. West Ham don't change their team often. And I think it helps. This nonsense of Spurs making 10 or 11 changes to a Conference League team, or, whatever the competition is called, they almost lose the game. Or sorry, they did lose the game, didn't they?
They did lose the game, yeah.
They did lose the game. So it doesn't work. So coming from a Wolves fan, I don't see any reason why West Ham can't go to the quarters, semi-finals, maybe further of the Europa League, but still put in a fight for the top 7, maybe top 4. I think if we're being honest, top 7 is more realistic, because this West Ham squad, definitely the first team, is better than the Wolves team that got back-to-back 7ths.
And you'd probably say, looking realistically, they haven't got any superstar names, albeit, but we've proven there's been times where that, that's not necessarily a great thing. I mean, of course, everyone's still going to be eyeing up United for the top 4. I don't think it's going to be unfair to say that United obviously they do have a better starting 11 than West Ham. But after West Ham, when you start to actually think through it, you think about the other culprits that would usually be mentioned, the likes of Tottenham, Arsenal. You look at West Ham's team, and let's be honest, what West Ham have one thing that those teams don't have at the moment, and that's an absolute proven goal scorer. And that's no offence to obviously Harry Kane, but at the moment he isn't looking a proven goal scorer this season. And of course, some people would say that's nonsense, but the proof is in the pudding. Whatever's happened at the moment to Harry Kane, he isn't a proven goal scorer at the moment, and something's not going well with Tottenham. Arsenal, okay, yes, they've got goals in them and they're starting to build something. But I don't look at their teams now and think that West Ham's team is realistically that much worse off than the likes of Spurs, Arsenal. And they definitely have a better manager, ironically, than Manchester United do currently. So
you look at players like Declan Rice, who Moyes came out this week. Oh, sorry, not Lord Moysey came out this week and said, in the summer, if you wanted Rice for 100 million, he said that would have been a bargain. Now you're not getting him. You're not getting him for less than 100+ million. So they've got very Creswell. I think he's one of the best left backs in the league this season. Yeah. So they've got very good players that kind of go under the radar. That happened with Wolves. We couldn't believe how no bids were coming in for Neves and Traoré when he was playing well. Moutinho, Jimenez. We couldn't believe that clubs weren't coming in for them. So we just kept playing them, and we did quite well.
What also got the likes of Benrahma as well. Obviously, you've also got Pablo Fornells. I said he was going to be an absolute superstar when he came to the Premier League. Unfortunately, in his first year, I think he had to have that adjustment with especially the Spanish league. I think German league is another one where they need that time to adapt to the Premier League. He looks like he's adapted now. And, obviously they made some big signings in the summer, albeit a couple of them, on loan. Alex Crowell, who was like a loan signing. You've got, I think it's pronounced Vlasic, who was a massive signing, attacking mid from CSK Moscow. They've not yet got into the team, and you do wonder if later on in the season, when they do need the numbers and stuff, and they might need a player or two, they might be ready. They might be ready for that Premier League football. So they've got potentially the strength and depth to also do it as well.
I completely agree. And that's evident in their stats this season. We know that Antonio's had an incredible season, 6 goals and 3 assists. But you look at the list, Benrahma, 3 goals, Fornals, 2 goals. This is just the Premier League, by the way. This is not all comps. So just in 9 Premier League games, Antonio 6 goals, Benrahma 3, Fornals 2, Bowen's got a goal, Creswell's got a goal. You come on to the assists, Antonio 3, Benrahma 2, Fornals 2, Declan Rice 2, Bowen's got 2. And you come on to Jared Bowen. I think his stats don't actually explain just how good he's been this season. We did the watch along for West Ham and Leeds. Antonio got the winner in the last minute. And Bowen was so good that game. And whenever else I've seen him, he hasn't got the stats to back it up. But if you watch his performances, he's so selfless. And that's what the theme of this team is. They are selfless. They work for each other.
Yeah, and we've seen what happens when a team that perhaps, isn't on paper, you know which one I'm going to speak about, of course, Leicester. They were just a complete team. They played as a team. They had a manager that engaged everyone. I'd actually say that this West Ham team is probably better than that Leicester team at the time. Obviously, Leicester had Kante, but you could match that up with Declan Rice. There were just a lot of players in that Leicester team that massively overperformed. And I think, of course, they had the luxury of, at the time, the Premier League. The bigger teams in the Premier League hadn't really spent. Of course, that's a polar opposite to this year. So that's why I'm not going to say West Ham can do a Leicester. But I do think 4th position, if Man United don't get their act together, I do fancy West Ham to potentially. They could shock people and finish in that position. And I am saying they're an absolute banker at the moment for Europa next season. And I'm not talking about the Conference League. I mean top 6.
I'm with you, to be fair. The only thing I would say is that they are an injury or 2 away in a couple of positions. I think if they lose Declan Rice, who do you pair with Souček in the middle? And the obvious one, Antonio. If they lose him, you're losing 50% of your goals in the Premier League this season, near enough. So, but that's ifs and buts. If Liverpool lose Salah, they're not in the title race. That you can say that about most teams. If Chelsea lost, Rudiger or Lukaku, they're going to struggle. So yes, but I just feel like if they can keep their squad fit, I'm with you, man. I don't see how they cannot get top 6. And it's not like they haven't played any good teams this season. Played Everton, did really well. They played United. Yes, they lost, but really good performance and probably should have drew at least. So, Lord Moysey, man, I love it. I hope Everton get top 6 in my defence. In their defence, because being a Wolves fan, they're kind of one of us, aren't they? We're one of the outsiders. We don't deserve to be
Everton or West Ham?
What?
You said, I hope Everton get top 6.
I hope Everton get top 6. I hope West Ham get top 6. I hope it's everyone except for the big 6.
Get rid of the big 6 and the top 6. Let's make sure. I don't know. The other 14 teams can somehow fit in those 6 positions.
Well, that's what it's about, isn't it? The likes of Wolves, Wolves, Everton, West Ham, Brighton. I want to see these teams at the top of the league. Guys, if you are new here and you're a West Ham fan and you like our praise of Lord Moysey, give us a like, man, and give us a sub. See how it goes. You never know. You might fall in love with us.
Exactly that. And also drop us a comment. Let us know if you're a West Ham fan where you think you may finish in the table this season. Let us know if you think we've spoke absolute rubbish for about 14 minutes, which probably is the case.
Never.
Even if you're not a West Ham and you watch it, fan and you watch this, just let us know as well where you think West Ham will finish and why. And hopefully we shall see you again.